Go ahead, Chris. Kick it off.
Hello, everybody. How do? How you doing today? I am your co-host, patriotic rancher, Mr. Brutally Honest, and I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. And there's our host, Mr. Crazy Horse himself, Stephen Tolliver. We're glad you're here. We hope you've gotten some reading done because, trust me, this is episode 2 of probably 1,000, and we're going to fry your brain. So I hope you guys are ready to learn something and ask a whole bunch of questions and go from there, because that's what today is about.
Okay, we have Jeff Vare on here, Scott Grimes, Jerry Cox, Gerald K. Michaels, Danielle Jaskula, Deanna Reinert. Welcome, everybody. Well, we're going to give this a little bit of time. We're going to let some other people get on. Carol Davis is now with us. And
Awesome.
I want to welcome everybody to the show. So how much reading did everybody do? How you doing, Scott? How much reading got done?
Hopefully everybody got quite a bit done.
Yeah.
But I know stuff happens and you got to go from there.
Hello, Carol. How you doing? So if you catch me looking down, it's because BeLive hasn't fixed the problem with my system yet, so I can see who's making comments on my computer. So I have it.
Bree has it up on Zoom.
Okay. Bree Lawrence is watching.
Honest.
Ed Rutledge.
Bree has a group on Zoom, and that's where she's showing it to the group on there.
Oh, okay.
So it's up on my deal over here. So if anybody's got any questions on Zoom or anything, they just share them with us. And if you guys have somebody brand new that's never been here before, tell them to go to the Congressional Accountability Committee page on Facebook to join it. And we're going to vet you and join you and go from there.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you
Hello, Ed. How you doing?
Yeah. Ed Rutledge, Bree Lawrence, Jeff Allen is watching. Welcome to the broadcast. Hopefully, people have been doing their reading. I know there's a couple that, that have had really busy lives, and they got a lot going on. So I don't know who you're calling gentlemen, but anyway.
I got my notepad out. I got my notepad. I'm ready.
Look at you with that three ring. And there's
more yellow stickers. I got more yellow stickers.
Okay, so who all started reading this, and how far have you gotten in the book? And William Finnerty Jr., thank you. And Bree, thank you for Zooming, doing this on Zoom. Jimmy Collins is welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Finnerty, he follows me all the time. He's a Democrat. Lives up there in Maryland, and he's never going to vote Democrat again. But he's still a Democrat.
Okay, well that's good. What's up, Jimmy?
Hey, Rebecca, how you doing?
So, well, just to let you know, these shows in this book doesn't care whether you're Democrat, doesn't care if you're a Republican, doesn't care if you're black, yellow, white, blue, or whatever. And the whole purpose of us doing this show and breaking this book down is because this belongs to every American, every walk of life. Hey, there's Helen.
There's Helen.
Yeah, she's able to come in.
There's the Queen of New York is here.
Is there sound? Are you not getting any sound at all, Deanna?
She says she got it.
Okay. So, Rebecca Witherspoon. Anyway, this information belongs to every American. And I'm telling you right now, it's knowledge, and knowledge is power. And this is the power we have as individuals. Look at me. You can see me going bald, can't you? That's the first time I've seen that balding head of mine in a while. Because it's usually covered with a welder's cap. So anyways, while everybody's getting here, how many of you, by typing 1, have started reading the book? And after you type 1, let us know what page you've gotten to, so we can start breaking this all down. And we're just going to briefly touch on some.
While we're waiting on that, I want to do 2 things. I want to talk about the definition of redemption, because I got 2 definitions. I got a definition from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, and I also got a definition from the Oxford Dictionary. 2 completely different definitions, but the definition for redemption from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary says the act of making up for, an exchange for something of value, or an act of saving from sin. Now, the Oxford Dictionary says the action of being sound from sin or crime or evil. And then it says an action of regaining original possession of something in exchange for payment or clearing a debt.
Okay.
That is a definition of redemption.
Right. Okay. Jimmy Collins, what kind of device are you downloading on? And Rebecca Witherspoon, don't worry how far you've gotten.
Yeah, this is no reading contest.
Yes, it's not. A lot of lead, Mike. This is live. Yes. It's not working.
How do you download it? Okay, Deanna.
Go ahead.
Let me pull it up here real quick.
Okay. Well, you're on the iPhone. Which iPhone, Jimmy? Which iPhone are you using? Are you using the XR, the iPhone XR, XS? Now they came out with iPhone 11 something. It's got 3 camera lenses on it. Just Dale, welcome to the show, Dale. iPhone 8. Okay, what you do is you have to go to Google, type in Redemption Manual 4.5.
That one right there. And it's from WordPress.
Yes.
The one that says
Redemption
WordPress,
Manual.
and it has PDF in front of it. It says PDF Redemption Manual 4.5 edition, WordPress.com. And all I did was Google it, Redemption 4.5, Redemption Manual 4.5. That's it.
Now, once you type that into Google and you press on that PDF, it'll show you a little download symbol at the top of your screen, Jimmy. Okay? And you hit download. Then you go to your Apple Books, hit book, and then it'll give you an option to add a book. Then you go to your downloads and hit Redemption Manual 4.5, and it'll automatically download it into your iPhone books. So, anyways, yeah, Jeff said it took him less than 5 seconds to get the book. So, That's and I'm going to tell you what, I have the iPhone. I know the screen's kind of bright. Okay, it's real bright. Let me see if I can change the settings on how to.
And yes, Helen, we can see your comments. Thank you for getting out of jail and coming back to us.
Yeah. Welcome, Brenda.
Hey, Brenda. How you doing, Brenda?
Yeah. But anyways, now I'm going to go here. And I know I told everybody, don't skip a thing in this book. And that means from the introduction, the preface, the notice, acknowledgments, starting at page 4, basically, because you don't, page 3, that just gives you all the information on how many times this has been in print and whatnot. What edition, like this is what now I forget what, 4th edition.
This is 4.5.
So.
And while he's doing that, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to put this in here. We're going to be talking about several things right away. And all of these have correlation into what we're going to be talking about. And they're commercial law, private law, public law, civil law, color of law, and UCC. And you can look at the definitions for each one. I have them if you need them. Plus, you're going to learn about a quasi-government. And if you don't know what a quasi-government is, a quasi-government is a seemingly apparent but not really. So it's a fake government. And that's what we're going to be talking about a lot also.
But on page 6, where the notice is, okay, it does say redemption is not for the timid, the weak, and the ignorant. One must read, study, and test or apply what one is becoming exposed to in understanding the commercial scheme being operated against every man, woman, and child today in this country for the sole purpose to allow the government, corporations to survive and to continue to serve themselves under a socialistic bankrupt democracy. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, well, we're a republic. We're a republic. And in here, it tells you to forget everything that you've been taught in school. Just throw it out the window or set it on the shelf and just read. And it says right here, one must read, study, and test what one is becoming exposed to in understanding understanding the commercial scheme being operated against every man, woman, and child today in this country. So I'm telling you right now, it's a shame, but once you start reading this book, it will break it down. And I'm telling you right now, research every cross-reference they give you in this book. So you know for a fact that what they're saying is true, and you will see it for yourself. It's plain and simple. A lot of this we've all known for a long time. We've known for a long time probably about 1/10 of what this book is touching on. We've known the truth about 1/10 of what they're telling us, because I'm telling you what, I'm on page 184. And the reason why I'm only on page 184 is because it is so much critical thinking when I read this that I have to go back and reread to comprehend. And not only that, but I do research. I cross-reference. I go to everything that they put down as a cross-reference. And like take Colonel Edward Mandell House. It's tells you in the book what his involvement was. So I'm telling you, I go and I research him. I don't go to Wikipedia. Because I'm telling you what, a lot of that is a bunch of garbage. They print half truths in Wikipedia. It's just plain and simple. So anyhow, that's
one of the things too I think people should know too is, and it's in the notice section here, says it's imperative that you move forward with your educational process, acquire other books and information, list contained herein, to understand and to implement the transfer from being a debtor slave on the plantation, becoming a secured party creditor, and perfecting your sovereignty. If you don't have a computer and you do not understand redemption or unwilling to learn, all that might be necessary in regards of this commercial scheme as the supposed principal, sovereign in a collective capacity, and take the responsibility, it is strongly suggested you do not go forward or continue in this process.
Right.
Because there's a lot to it. There is a lot to this.
Yep. And it says right here, from this point forward, you must decide which pill to take. If you decide to take the blue pill, you wake up in bed and believe whatever you want. And you go back to the plantation. You go back to being, business as normal. Usual. Business as usual. You take the red pill, now you get your overalls on, you get if you wear work gloves, you get your work gloves, and you pull that hat down around your ears, and you cinch up your boots, and you tuck your pant leg on the inside, and you start going down the rabbit hole. Because that's what seeking the truth is about.
And it is going to be a bumpy ride.
And get dirty with it. That's plain and simple. In this book, you will be, learning about how to escape the matrix. Plain and simple. But you'll never be the same. You'll never be the same. And your family members, your friends, and anybody you talk to that doesn't question what the government says, they'll look at you like you're crazy. You crazy, man. You crazy.
Yeah, because you're going to be learning stuff that you was not taught. You're going to be learning stuff that's not talked about in normal aspects out in groups of people. You're going to be learning and talking with us about stuff that could be considered taboo because they don't want you to know about this stuff. They want you to take that blue pill and stay in the matrix. They don't want you to know anything that's going on.
Okay, I'm going to read them the quote that I read you. Okay. And people, if you don't think that our government is ran by the banking system instead of real politicians, here's a quote from a book called The Organizer. It was written January 1934. And this actual quote came from that book. And it made their intentions, the bankers' intentions, what was going to happen to every man, woman, and child. Okay? This is at the bankers meeting, and this is what prompted this book. Capital must protect itself in every way, through combination and through legislation. Debts must be collected and loans and mortgages foreclosed as soon as possible. When through a process of law, the common people have lost their homes, they will be more tractable and more easily governed by the strong arm. The strong arm. Does everybody know what strong arm robbery is? Strong arm robbery is where they use a weapon against you to rob you.
I.e. armed robbery.
Okay. Governed by the strong arm of the law, applied by the central power of wealth, under control of leading financiers. People without homes will not quarrel with their leaders. This is well known among our principal men now engaged in forming an imperialism of capital to govern the world. By dividing the people, we can get them to expand their energies in fighting over questions of no importance to us, except as teachers of the common herd. Bankers look at you as you're part of the herd. And if they control the capital, you're just going to go like a sheep to the slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
That's their intentions here. Okay? Now, to finish this quote. Thus, by discreet action, we can secure for ourselves what has been generally planned and successfully accomplished. In 1934, they were already saying they accomplished their whole mission. That came from the bankers meeting, and it came in the person that authored the book. And the book, the title of the book, if you want to look it up, okay, if you want to look up the title of the book is The Organizer. It was written January of 1934.
Organizer or organizers?
The Organizer,
Okay.
singular. So that right there, folks, that gives you their intentions for we the people. And these were American bankers at this bankers meeting.
Do you know who wrote that?
I'm going to the exact page now to get the author. So you got to be patient with me. I'm not tech savvy like most of these people here.
Right.
Oh, come on.
And to go right along with what he's saying right there, ladies and gentlemen, you got to realize that the war is raging in the world. The war is raging, and in this world, it is a war to influence what you think and ultimately how you act, i.e., they're using emotions to control what you think, what you do, what you say. You can control any group, no matter how large, if you can shape their opinions, perceptions, and belief systems in such a way as to direct them from knowing or understanding the fundamental reality in which they are immersed. A prison without bars, necessarily. This is the ultimate form of leverage that they have on us.
Okay, this is saying here, the fate of companies, individuals, and governments is entirely at the mercy of bankers. Their power is unbridled, both in the creating and granting of loans and also in their arbitrary recall with or without notice. The following quote, taken from the Civil Servants Yearbook, the organizer, of January 1934, makes their intent all too clear. Doesn't say the author, but if you look up Civil Servants Yearbook, and then in quotations put the organizer, and I went ahead and put in January 1934 and punched it up, and it, I had to go through it because it doesn't tell you what page it's on. But I found this quote. So then I went to another source and looked it up, and pretty much the same way it came up. And that quote is definitely in the Civil Servants Yearbook, the organizer. So people in 1934, because we know in 1933, they did the Federal Reserve Act, and further enslaved us. Now, if you read far enough in the book, you know about 1913. That's when they did the Banking Act. So, anyhow, and this was all designed back in the 1700s. These bankers got together in the 1700s. I do believe it was 1791, 1792.
Right.
Through my research. And they says, oh, no, we got to control everything. But it didn't become prominent until 1811.
Well, you got to look too. This really came about when Lincoln was president.
Well, actually, it started back in 1811. Actually,
right. But under Lincoln too, that's where a group of people that wanted to stay anonymous also went through their agents, employees of the Corporation of the United States, and they hijacked our Constitution.
Oh yeah,
big time.
Yep.
And they also breached the three branches of the constitutional republic at that time.
Yeah.
That's what the quasi-government corporation takeover was then engineered to take control of all states.
Yep. So, and we touched on this last Thursday about why Abraham Lincoln. There was two good reasons why Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. And one, he wanted to repeal martial law with an executive order. Two, he wanted to get rid of the central banking system and start our own currency backed with silver and gold. So that there, and sending tax money. People, if you don't think that we've been sending taxes back to England, think again. Okay, every NSF charge you're charged by your bank. Okay. Every fee that you're charged by your bank, a portion of that goes back to England, to the crown. So we've been paying our taxes to the crown all along. Some win in the column, win column there on the Revolutionary War, huh?
Yeah. Okay.
Did
we actually win the Revolutionary War? We won the battle, but we didn't win the war.
Right.
Because the war was dictated in the House of Commons.
So now since it doesn't look like we're ever really going to be, unless, and this is where people like Tammy Hillary Lee, uh, Keith D. Williams, otherwise known as the Hammer, uh, and all these other patriot people on Facebook that you see, that like November 9th, the redress of our grievances that that they're going to be doing on November 8th. They're going to Washington, D.C., and they're going to redress our grievances before the White House, Congress, and the Senate. And, you know, this is where we need to roll up our sleeves and get involved. We need to get down and dirty. How many here, by the show of hands, meaning type 1, are willing to go to war against a tyrannical government where the military, I'm telling you right now, those that are in the military, about 1/3 of them will walk away and side with the people. But 2/3 of the military today, they're going to stay and they're going to do the bidding of a tyrannical government.
Yep. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Now I will. I will fight. I'll fight. But how many of you, type 1, are willing to take up arms and go fight against 2/3 of the United States military?
And you got to be honest with yourself too. You can't just sit there on your derriere and say, "Oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea." I'll do it. You got to be honest with yourself, because as you know and I know, when somebody's shooting at you, that's a whole different ball of wax. That's a whole different ball of wax.
Yeah, we got a new guest in. Well, we got a new person in here. Dawn Crawford says, "What luck! I stumbled upon you." And Dawn says,
Hey,
"Hello."
Dawn, how's it going?
Okay, now is that a rational thing that we would actually win against the government in a new revolutionary war? When you read this book, especially read the part about the Matrix. This is how when I said we're approaching our fight against the government all wrong. We need to go to peace, not war. We need to make treaties. We need to make treaties with the politicians. We must, and that is one of the reasons why I and some other people have drafted, and some of you have read the rough draft of the Oath Accountability Agreement Act. Okay. And Jerry, who's with the American Rebellion, I'm telling you, he said it, I believe it was last night in his live feed. It's not rational for us to go to a physical war against, and he's the one that said it last night, that the military is going to side with the side of those who are giving them orders. And to be quite honest with you, I agree with him. And we're going to see if it would ever come to that, we're going to see about 1/3 of the military desert and come back and fight on our side. But they got a lot more weapons than we do. They got tanks, they got rocket launchers, they got land to air missiles, they got planes, Jerry said it last night in his live feed with Matty K and Dave. We'll lose. So when you read the part about the Matrix and it tells you we're doing this all wrong, we need to go to peace with them, and we need to design treaties. We need to draft up treaties. That's how we're going to defeat the government. That's how we're going to defeat them and get back to being a republic and do away with the socialist democracy that these banks started doing 200 years ago.
Well, you got to remember too, we got a fictional government right now, so you can't fight a fictional government because all it is alter egos. So you have to, like you said, you got to stop fighting them. You got to come up, and we got to stop warring against them, because the more we war against this government right now, the more they're winning.
The stronger they get. And if you listen to that quote that I just read, this was the bank's design, that we're going to be fighting about stuff that has no consequence to the banks. It's not going to hurt them. They're still going to keep on doing what they've been doing since 1791, and what they did in 1812, and what they did in 1861, what they did in 1871, 1913, 1933, 1955. I'm telling you right now, these bankers, they are the ones writing the legislation, not these congressmen. These bankers are writing the legislation. And then corporations got in on it when they were given citizenship. They're an entity. They're an entity. Plain and simple.
And you know, the reason why we talk so much about the Matrix, ladies and gentlemen, and the Wizard of Oz, is because it all correlates to just that. When you go back and rewatch the Wizard of Oz and rewatch the Matrix, or if you can even remember them good enough, you're going to learn in those shows just what he's talking about. How certain people are lined up to do certain things. Now put that in place of government. It's the exact same thing.
Yep. And so we're going to touch on the first part of the book where it talks about the Wizard of Oz. Okay. And I was talking with Chris last night, after he did his live and messed up the time frame. Told everybody 8:30 Eastern, this and that. But anyways, we got that all straightened out. But he said that he spoke with some people, and he said that they read the part about the Wizard of Oz and the Matrix Reloaded and all that good happy stuff. He said that they went out and rented the movies just to watch them again, and they watched them with open eyes and open minds, because it took on a whole new meaning to them. So now,
and it will, and this is where you have to have an open mind. You really do. You can't go in with preconceived ideas or notions when you read this. You have to read it with an open mind in order to be able to learn.
Exactly. I'm flipping through the pages here to get to.
And Helen says they're not as dumb as we make them out to be. Yeah, the government is, and the bankers are not dumb at all. They're not. They've been playing us for centuries.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to pin that right there. So anyways, we get to the Wizard of Oz. Okay, and those of you who have your book, you can read it with us. Yeah, you know what, Jimmy? I watched the original Matrix, but, well, I'm not going to say but, and I did it while I was high. And I'll tell you what, it made so much sense to me. You know? I wasn't watching it because of the guns and the bending of time and this and that. You know, it was making sense to me. And then I read this book. Yeah, Jeff says, get watching.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And The Wizard of Oz, the coded movie of what really happened to America by Robert Kelly. Just as you can read between the gory lines in the newspaper on any given day in America, you can discover clues and truths slipped in by the powers that be. If you look hard enough as to what is actually going on, such notice can also be found in somewhat lighter fare. The movies. As you well know, movies have become the national pastime of entertainment. Millions go to the movies, VHS tapes, DVDs. The storyline, topics, and time frames vary as to the manuscript and the vision of the directors. Such a movie was The Wizard of Oz, an allegory for the new state of affairs in America in the 1930s. Following the stock market crash and the factual bankruptcy of the United States government immediately following. The Wizard of Oz movie is not just a movie for children, though perceived today it is, and it has become a national icon for an historical nature, replayed every year on television just for the children. They play it for the children. They label it, oh, it's a children's show. Why? Does anybody know why they label it that way? Do you know why some of these movies that they make are geared towards children? Is because they have the most impressionable mind, and they'll get the gist of it. They will pick up the subliminal messages in it. So they get them brainwashed. How many of you had children? Let's go to the movie Frozen. That, oh, you just had to go take your kid to the movie. Your child is like, we want to go see Frozen. And you take them. And then they want to see it again. So you buy the VHS tape. And they watch it constantly. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3 times a day. Okay? It's by design.
And you guys are correct. Everybody is saying, it's indoctrination. It's for them to use subliminal messaging to control the masses. This way they're starting with the kids. That's why they want the kids to go.
Yep. Okay. Such a movie was The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz movie is not just a movie for children that is perceived. I already read that, right? What is missed by most is the symbolism in the movie, in almost every character and aspects of the set and so-called special effects and props back then. After reading this article and then seeing the movie again, it will never be the same to you or your children. The setting was Kansas. Woohoo, my home state. Go Wildcats. Heartland America, the geographical center of the USA. In comes the twister, the tornado, i.e., whirling confusion of the stock market crash that left everybody economically dizzy. It signified the theft of America's gold, the coming U.S. bankruptcy, the Great Depression. The tornado whisked Dorothy and Toto up into a new, artificial, dreamlike dimension somewhere above the solid ground of Kansas. When Dorothy awakes, she finds herself in the land of Oz. Dorothy comments to her little companion, "Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore." How many of us have used that saying and we're not even in the state of Kansas? That's right. After the bankruptcy, Kansas was no longer just plain old Kansas. It was now KS, capital K, capital S, the abbreviation for the state. An artificial corporate venue of the bankrupt United States' newly established federal territory, part of the federal zone. And Dorothy and Toto were in this state now. On her journey in this unfamiliar land, Dorothy meets up with three unusual characters, each having certainly a different problem or aspect as portrayed on the silver screen. But their true identity has been decoded, and it follows. Dawn Crawford was conceived in Kansas, she says. Nothing else to do there. Why do you think I have 10 kids? Okay. The first was the Scarecrow, a man of straw, a front. And he identified his straw man persona for Dorothy. Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking. Of course, I'm bright about doing things. And in his classic song, "If I Only Had a Brain," the Scarecrow, the straw man, succinctly argued, "I'd unravel every riddle for every individual in trouble or in pain." Today, in light of redemption, we would translate it as, once we discover that his straw man exists, all political and legal mysteries, complexities, and confusions are resolved or understood. And once one takes the legal title, control, to his straw man, he becomes the authorized representative of the straw man to accept and discharge, settle all commercial affairs. As in Oz, the new commercial world, aka the Matrix, because the straw man has no brains and no hands and fingers to grasp a pen to write the check, so to speak, to pay the fine, fee, tax, or debt. Wow. Anybody grasp that yet?
Oh, yeah. He ain't there to, he's not, he doesn't have a brain, so he can't understand, and he can't grab anything because he don't know what to grab at all. All he knows
he doesn't have any hands. Technically, a Scarecrow has no real hands.
He's just that. He is a empty vessel.
He can't think for himself.
Nope, not at all. So he's just there. Somebody's got to tell him what to do all the time.
Now, the second character is I'm telling you, we got to pay attention to things. Okay? It says the second character was the Tin Man, or TIN, also identified as Taxpayer Identification Number. Now, anybody that's been in business for themselves, they ask for your TIN. Okay.
Which can be your social security number, or you can put in for paperwork to get a number issued by the government.
Yeah. Yeah, Helen, that's right. We are the straw man getting screwed without a handshake. I always say without getting the reach around. Okay, now the Tin Man. The Tin Man was a hollow man of metal, a vessel, a vehicle, a newly created commercial code word for the straw man, just like the Scarecrow. The Tin Man had no brain, had no heart. Both were artificial persons. One of the definitions of tin in Webster's counterfeit is counterfeit. The Tin Man also represented the mechanical and heartless aspect of commerce and commercial law. Just like they say in the mafia, nothing personal, it's just business. I don't know about you. When the government decided they wanted to take hold of each and every living, breathing person and make you a slave debt or a slave to the plantation, a debtor instead of a creditor, that's something to get personal about. It is personal.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, for years, we've all been taught you can't take on City Hall. You can't take on the government.
And in another profession similar to the mafia, the business of lawyering, they have the attitude that it's nothing personal. I just lost that where I was. It's nothing personal. Bidness is bidness. The heartless Tin Man also carried an axe, the traditional symbol for God, i.e., modern commercial law in earlier dominant civilizations, including fascist states. In the words of the Tin Man expressing relief after Dorothy had oiled his rusty points and parts, he said, "I've held that axe up for ages." The word ace is, I can't even pronounce that word, etymologically related to the word axe. And in a deck of cards, there's only one above the king is the ace, i.e., God, one of the axes, powers of the world. Powers of World War II, Italy was a fascist state. The symbol for fascism in the fasces, a bundle of rods with an axe bound up in the middle and its blade projecting the fasces. A bundle of rods. Yeah. The fasces may be found on the reverse of the American Mercury head dime in Roman deity. Mercury was the god of commerce. It can also be found on the wall behind and on each side of the speaker's podium in the U.S. Senate. Each gilded fasces is approximately 6 feet in height, and at the base of the seal of the U.S. Senate are 2 crossed fasces. You guys getting this yet?
Helen says Christianity being attacked.
Oh, yeah.
It's been attacked since day one.
The third character that Dorothy met was the Cowardly Lion, or King of Beasts. And as the most feared of all animals in the jungle, was lacking courage. The lion is symbolic of the once fearless American people who have since lost their courage. Yes, there are a lot of hot talkers out there. Just listen to your local radio talk shows. American men love to talk, but none have the courage to do a damn thing. The American people are scared of the corporate federal system and the local revenue collectors, i.e., cops and judges in their so-called courtrooms, tribunals of justice, commerce. After your first few go-rounds with the just us system, believing there was justice in the courts, you probably lost some of your courage too. And you may have not known it, but the IRS has been dealing with only your straw man, the debtor, strictly under the laws of commerce, and they are just like the Tin Man, heartless. Don't we know that? Has anybody ever had your assets seized by the IRS?
Not yet. Yet being the operative word. But I have friends that have. I've had friends that lost everything because the IRS took them.
When those agents come to your property, they are heartless. Mm-hmm. They don't care. They don't care. Or how about foreclosures, sheriff sales? When them sheriff's deputies come, they're heartless. They don't care if you have anywhere to go. They give you so much time to pack your crap up and leave the property. But what we're going to find out is the property was never really yours. You're only using it. You're renting it by paying taxes, paying a fictitious mortgage. Okay. Yeah, Bree says it. Give unto Caesar. The scriptures say it. Jesus said it in the scriptures. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and render unto God what is God's. Okay. Now, after Dorothy and her 3 companions made their way to Oz, they had learned that they had to go see the wizard. To find the wizard, they had to just follow the yellow brick road. Gold is known as yellow bricks and are melted into ingots. All one has to do is follow the trail of America's stolen gold, and you will find the thief who stole it. In the beginning of the movie, the wizard was represented by the traveling mystic, Professor Marvel, whom Dorothy encountered when she ran away with Toto. His Maccabi shingle touted that he was acclaimed by the crowned heads of Europe, past, present, and future. Boy, that Professor Marvel must have been a regular wizard to be acclaimed by the future crowned heads of Europe before they were even crowned. Before the bankers stole America, they had long since disempowered the Christian monarchies of Europe and looted their kingdom. Maybe this Professor Marvel fellow knew something about the future that other folks didn't. With a human skull peering down from its painted perch above the door inside his wagon, the good professor lectured Dorothy of the priest of Isis and Osiris and the days of the pharaohs of Egypt. You know, I never, when I was a kid growing up or ever watched that movie as an adult, I never paid attention to that. I never paid attention to that in the movie. Now, when Dorothy and her new friends emerged from the forest, they were elated to see the Emerald City before them, only a short jaunt away. Then came the Wicked Witch of the West, desperate for the ruby slippers that Dorothy was wearing as they held special powers. A significant point here is that in the original book, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, published in 1900, 39 years earlier, the slippers were not red, but silver. In the first cut of the movie, the slippers were silver, but were changed to red to be more colorful. Originally, the slippers were silver. Follow the yellow brick road.
What was silver back then? What was silver back then?
Silver was part of the backing of the American dollar.
Mm-hmm. And it was known as poor man's gold.
Yep. It was more plentiful than gold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, between 1916 and 1933, most of America's gold was rounded up by the privately owned Federal Reserve banks and shipped off to the Fed owners in England and Germany. The reason for this was that Federal Reserve notes could be redeemed in gold, and the use of Federal Reserve notes carried an interest penalty that could only be paid in gold. The American people were defrauded into trading their gold for worthless paper with green ink on it. Our previous currency, that is our previous currency. United States notes, interest-free. Go to any coin store and see or buy a 1963 U.S., not Federal Reserve, note. It was interest-free money. When the bankruptcy was declared in 1933, Americans were required, which was misdirected, to turn in all gold coins, gold bullion, gold certificates by May 1st, known as May Day, the birthday of communism in Bavaria in 1776, the birthday of the IRS, and celebrated worldwide as International Workers' Holiday, a holy day to the wizard and his tribe. See how dates are important to remember.
They correlate everything, not only what happened here, but worldwide.
Yep.
And see how everything's tying in with one thing? Money.
Yep. Whew. Talking to the people who were alive at that time, you may find out that the general sentiment towards such thievery bordered on a second revolution. Maybe it was just too much of a clue or too much salt in the wound for Dorothy to be skipping down the yellow brick road in a pair of silver slippers. So that, for whatever reason, a color less likely to annoy or provoke was selected, i.e. red. That's why they went to the red slippers. Because when Wizard of Oz first came out, it was during the Depression. And I was fortunate enough to have parents that were there, grandparents that went through it. You know, and you want to talk about some angry people? They were angry. My dad's father, my grandfather, I used to sit and listen to him tell stories of going to the banks and wanting their gold back, returning their notes, saying, I want to take my gold out. No, you're not allowed. They made it against the law for you to have gold of any kind. That's when jewelry went from being pure gold to gold plated. Yeah, I'm telling you, at that time, That's why they changed the slipper. Her slippers were changed to the color red, because if they would have saw silver, and they would have correlated more of the clues in the movie, and it would just anger them. With regard to the choice of, I'm on the next page. With regard to the choice of ruby or red colored slippers, red's primary significance, at least on documents and the like, is that it is the color of blood, as in flesh and blood, and symbolizes a living, breathing man or woman, i.e. non-corporate, non-artificial. The slippers represented you and I. The color red could also have been chosen for the related tie to the international banking Federal Reserve founder, the Rothschilds, aka Red Shield family. It does signify private as opposed to public. You'll find out more about the Rothschilds further in the book. I'm going to get to Rothschild name. I'm trying to. Okay, it's his real name was Amschel Bauer. In 1748, he opened a goldsmith shop under the name Red Shield. In the German language, it is pronounced Rothschild, spelled Rothschild. So the Rothschild family, their real last name is Bauer. Okay. Just a little tidbit there for y'all.
You're going to hear it more and more as we go through.
Yeah. Your new Social Security card has a red serial number on the reverse, signifying the private side, bond, or account attached to the public side of your straw man. Social Security account. For postal employees, red sticker registered mail means personal accountability or private. All other mail carries limited liability, which is public. This is likely that the ruby slippers symbolized the American people with blood in their veins, as opposed to citizens of the United States, strawmen, with the counterfeit corporate blood of blue-black ink on a birth certificate. No matter their color in the movie, the Wicked Witch of the West wanted those slippers at any cost and had to move fast before Dorothy and her crew could make it to the Emerald City. Have you ever looked at your Social Security card, folks?
I was just thinking about that.
Look at your birth certificate. And when you get further in this book, you're going to learn the significance. We'll wait till Chris sits down. When you get further into this book, you're going to see the significance of signing things in blue ink as opposed to black. Yep.
Right there's the red numbers on the back of your Social Security card.
Yep. Like I said, further in, you'll see and find out the significance of signing anything, any document in blue ink. And we just, discard it. We don't care. We grab a pen, black, blue, red ink. Well, most of us know, oh, don't sign nothing with red, right? How many of you went to sign a document and you had a red pen and you go, oh, nope, can't do that, because what does red represent? If you sign a document in red, it makes it void unless otherwise told to sign in red ink. Did you know that? If you write out, you go into your checkbook and you pull a check out and you write it out in red ink and you sign it in red ink, a bank will not cash it because it's void.
Right. I did that when I was 16 years old, and they refused to do it, and that was the very last check I had. So they gave me an empty bank check and made me fill out a new one.
Melody Sears is correct. Blue ink is referred to legal ink. Exactly, Jeff or Jay. If you write out a check in red ink, pay to the order, date, and you write out the amount and you sign it in red ink, whoever you give that check to, the bank will not accept it because it's considered void. It's a void check. Okay, let's get, okay. The witch's tactics was to cover the countryside with poppy flowers or poppies, the source of heroin, opium, and morphine, symbolically drugging them, the American people, into unconsciousness, and then just waltz in and snatch the slippers. In other words, the best way to subjugate the American people and boost the goods was to dull their senses by getting them hooked on drugs. Note, LSD was created the same year, 1939, by Dr. Albert Hoffman. And who remembers the CIA psychological studies of LSD studies? Who remembers that? You ever remember reading that in school?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did.
Remember I told you my experiences in Vietnam, that I watched CIA operatives called company men on Air America fly back ton after ton after ton after ton of heroin back to the United States. Look what's happening in Afghanistan. We have soldiers guarding poppy fields, which they also guard the convoys of those flowers going to the processing plant to be made into heroin.
That's our number one economy over there.
Okay. And where is it bound for?
US of A.
Every free thinking government that is trying to implement a new world order, a new banking order.
Hey, little brother, glad you joined us.
Okay. Now, isn't that something? In 1939, this very same year this movie came out, LSD was created and used as test drugs. Okay, now let's go here. The poppies / drugs worked on Dorothy, the lion, and Toto, our flesh and blood friends, but had no effect on the strawman or on the scarecrow or the tin man, the artificial entities. The two of them cried out for help, and Glenda, the good witch of the north, answered their prayers with a blanket of snow, aka cocaine, a stimulant nullifying the narcotic effect of the poppies, opium, on Dorothy, the lion, and Toto. Wow. They used another drug to bring them out of another drug effect.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're witnessing it in modern time. Every police car, every ambulance, every ER. There's some medical facilities like Med Express where you can go instead of going to the hospital. They all must carry Narcan. Your pharmacies have big signs in the pharmacy. Narcan available for anybody that uses opioid medications, OxyContin, and all that good happy crap. Come on, people. Just hearing
Jeff said he doesn't understand that part.
You don't understand that part? Okay, let me tell you something. After witnessing what I witnessed
about the poppies and then the cocaine.
Cocaine. Okay. Heroin, poppies, that are manufactured into heroin. It's a downer. Okay. If you ever seen a heroin junkie, right after they shoot up, they kind of nod out. They go like, and it slows their system down. Okay. What does cocaine do? It speeds your system up. So to combat the heroin dose, to bring them out of their stupor of nodding out, cocaine boosted, just got into their system. It gives you energy. So it took them out of that trance. Okay. Okay, okay. At this writing, okay, aside from marijuana, the two most available drugs on the streets of America are heroin and cocaine in their various forms. Heroin, what is that? Fentanyl?
Yeah. Just a little bit will kill you.
And another form of that can be considered of cocaine, but it isn't made from cocaine, is crystal meth. Okay. As they all scamper towards Emerald City, the city of green, Federal Reserve notes, the new fiat money or money by decree. We heard the Munchkins singing on the glory of the wizard's creation. You're out of the woods. You're out of the dark. You're out of the night. Step into the sun. Step into the light. Keep straight ahead for the most glorious place on the face of the earth or the stars. Yeah, I never knew those were the words that they were singing.
I didn't either. To be honest.
Melody, are you the one that has the COPD problems that you messaged me the other day? Looking for natural lung rejuvenation herbs and spices and stuff? And Dawn, that is shame. That's a shame. And I'm going to say something right now that may anger everyone here. This may anger you. Okay. Anytime I hear somebody dying of a drug overdose, dying from the side effects of the drug, I feel bad for the family. And I'm going to say it now. And if it angers you, let me know. And I'm not saying this to anger you. I'm not saying this to be cold-hearted and callous. But I have no sympathy for drug users. I have none for those who OD, that kill themselves. Trying the drug is a choice. Deciding to keep on using the drug is another choice. And then whenever your choice becomes so addictive, and then all of a sudden you're addicted, I'm sorry, I don't have any sympathy for a drug overdose. I don't. When you realize that something has taken control of your life, i.e., drugs or alcohol, or even food, to the point that you're so obese, you know you have a problem. Whenever you say, oh my God, I can't believe this is doing this to me, and you're sitting there and you're scratching, and then you're looking to steal from your own family, or go rob a store, or sell your body to get your next fix, you know you have a problem. You consciously know you have a problem. So do what is right. Get help. I'm sorry if I offend anybody. I apologize ahead of time, but that's just me. And I know that I'm not the only one. I'm not the only person that feels that way. I know I'm not. Just like, I don't know if it makes me intelligent or anything, but I've watched what alcohol did to my dad. I watched how it dictated how he treated his children. And I made a conscious decision at a very young age that I would never get like that. And I've seen enough havoc from drug users in Vietnam that it kills families from the inside out. I had a cousin that was a heroin addict. He would overdose probably once a month. Then he got so bad at it. He got so bad with it that he didn't care if his 3-year-old son was in the same room that he was shooting up in. And his child, from the age of, from birth to the age of 9, would sit there and tie his dad's arm off so he could shoot up. Then he got to the point that he was the one cooking it because his dad didn't have steady enough hands. Because he would be cooking it and be so in need of that next shot that he would spill half of it as he cooked it. So his son, and then when his son was 9 years old, he came home from school and found his own dad dead on the couch because he OD'd. I have no sympathy for people who OD. I don't. So now back to what we're reading. The foregoing jingle abounds with illuminist Luciferian symbols and metaphors, re darkness and light. The Wicked Witch of the West made her home in a round medieval watchtower, ancient symbol of the Knights Templar of Freemasonry, who are given to practicing witchcraft and also created as the originators of modern banking circa 1099 AD. The Wicked Witch of the West was also dressed in black, the color symbolizing the planet Saturn, sacred icon of the Knights Templar, and the color of choice of judges and priests for their robes. Makes you think, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Who was the wicked witch of the West? Remember, in the first part of the film, her counterpart was Elmira Gulch. Who I remember her, that batty old looking thing, who, according to Aunt Em, owned half the county. Miss Gulch alleged that Dorothy's dog, Toto, had bitten her. She came to the farm with an order from the sheriff demanding that they surrender Toto to her custody. Aunt Em was not immediately cooperative and answered Miss Gulch's allegations that Toto had bitten her with, "He's really gentle with gentle people, that is." Could gentle really mean Gentile? When Miss Gulch defied them to withhold Toto and go against the law, dear old Aunt Em was relegated to pushing the party line for Big Brother. She dutifully succumbed to the pressure and counseled Dorothy reluctantly. Does this sound like most American people? How many times have you heard somebody, they're discussing their plight, their injustices that have been, thrust upon them, and they have that attitude? Well, you can't fight City Hall. It is what it is.
A lot. Hear about that a lot.
My family, my siblings, labeled me the black sheep many years ago. And when I say many years ago, we're going back to grade school. And my first 7 years of schooling was done in a Catholic school.
Did you have the nuns?
Yes. And being left-handed in a Catholic school, that was a double whammy. It was like I fought back every turn, every day. I had a brother who was real good with woodworking, and in wood shop, the priest asked him to make him a paddle. My brother says, "Well, what happened to the paddle you had?" And he says, "Well, I just busted it over your brother's ass." That school year, my brother made 10 paddles because of me. I fought back every step of the way. I questioned everything. And I defied them when they told me I had to conform to a certain way, i.e., they tried to force me to write right-handed. Okay, Rebecca, be safe. They used to tie my left arm to my side and forced me to write right-handed. And this is where I thank God my dad wasn't Catholic. I remember coming home one day with bloody knuckles. I forgot to wash my hands before I went to my dad's bar to work. My dad says, "Oh, were you in a fight? Because if you did, you better have won. Because if you lost, I'm going to kick your ass again." And, I remember 7th grade. I'm like, "No, Dad, no." Yeah, I still feared my dad, even though I was taller than him in 7th grade. No, I wasn't in a fight. The nuns did this to me because I won't write right-handed. My dad's words, plain as that, as if he said them yesterday. If they ever hit you again, hit them back. I had permission. A couple of weeks goes by, and I don't know if it's because I was intelligent or not, but I had all my classroom work done before any of the other kids, and I was bored, so I started cutting up. I was pressing my ass into the wood seat as tight as I could, and I would fart. And you know how loud those get. Well, pissed the nun off. She, without missing a lick, she didn't even really look, but she beamed me with that big eraser, that chalk eraser that was 12 inches long and about 4 inches thick, right between the eyes. I had chalk powder all over my face, and I saw stars. And all I can remember was what my dad said to me a couple of weeks earlier. If they ever hit you, hit them back. So I did. I stood up, walked to the front of the room, tapped her on the shoulder. As soon as she turned around, I cold cocked her right between the eyes. And I didn't feel bad that it was a nun. And I didn't feel bad that she was female. All I know is I had permission because nobody had the right. My dad even said it. He says, nobody has the right to tell you which hand to write with. Whatever hand you're comfortable writing with, write with it. Yeah, Bree, I did deserve that one. But my mind was telling me just a couple of weeks earlier, my dad gave me permission, Bree. He gave me permission. So, anyway, that story had to come out because I wasn't gonna, I was gonna be Dorothy. I was gonna fight. I was gonna do whatever I had to do to remain viable and legitimate in my own eyes. Because when you give into a system, and you follow it blindly, you're taking away your own identity. You're taking away who you really are. And when you allow the government to take your identity without fighting back, you're just letting it happen. You're allowing them to subjugate you and make you irrelevant. All they care about you is how much money they can get out of you in your lifetime. That's all. Okay, now to go on here. Today, 70% of all attorneys in the world reside in the West, America to be exact. And 95% of all lawsuits in the world are filed under U.S. jurisdiction. Did you know that? That other countries that sue people, they file those cases in the U.S.? Did you know 95% of it?
I didn't realize they did that from other countries.
I looked it up. I looked up some lawsuits. I didn't write them down. I wish I would have. But there was one, France versus Paraguay. Paraguay. They filed that lawsuit in the United States.
Really? I did not know that. Why?
The Wicked Witch of the West and Miss Gulch, dear friends, represent judges and attorneys, i.e. the American legal system, including the attorney-run U.S. Congress. They are the executioners and primary henchmen for transferring all wealth in America from the people over to the banks and the government. The Wicked Witch of the West wanted the silver slippers, the precious metals, and her counterpart, Miss Gulch, wanted to take Toto. What does the word Toto mean? in attorney language, i.e., Latin, toto means everything. And somebody had already said that in comments. Okay, Bree, we'll see you later. You can always watch the replay. And how long have we been on now?
An hour and a half.
Hour and a half. Wow. And what did I say? We're going to do 30-minute shows, no more than 45 minutes. Last show was 2 hours and some odd minutes.
Yeah.
This show so far is an hour and a half. And sorry, folks, if you're leaving because you're bored or whatever, I'm sorry. Dorothy and her 3 companions finally made their way to the Emerald City. They sought an audience before the wizard, were taken inside and brought before the wizard, a gigantic image speaking in a loud voice behind glass, similar to smoke and mirrors. Dorothy and the gang fell for the wizard's illusion, power, and commands in the beginning, but it was little Toto who, by his instinct, pulled the curtain back to expose the fraud of the wizard, a front man for the wizard, an agent for the fiction. The wizard the people feared. The wizard, this gigantic image speaking in a loud voice behind glass, could very well symbolize, with the advent of television, the power of government speaking lies before the people via television. Because if the people saw it on TV, it must be true. And of course, the people will believe their government, won't they? Remember the drugs? And we're going to stop right there because I'm going to touch on this about television. Okay? If people see it, well, nowadays, if I didn't see it on the internet, then it can't be true. If it's on the internet, it's true. No. The scriptures tell you in the prophecies of John, in the book of Revelations, things will seem like they're real, but they're not. Don't believe all that you see. There will come people saying, "Here comes the Messiah. Jesus is returning," and it won't be. It's going to be a giant hologram or a picture of him on a screen. Don't be fooled. This is where I love the fact that I was raised with parents that said, believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. Because chances are it's all an illusion. And how many of us have remembered this saying, if it sounds too good to be true, then it is too good to be true. Okay? And it's like when I talk to people like Chris, you and I, we've been talking about what we're setting up.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it sounds too good to be true, but I can back that up. I can hopefully I have shown you how it's going to work. And
Yep.
I'm not promising you any big extravagant thing without your own hard work. Yes, Jeff, you're right. False evidence appearing real. Fear. That's where we're going to stop tonight. And Thursday's show, we're going to touch a little bit on this, but now we're going to get into the meat of the book in section 1. We're going to start addressing it, and we're going to start showing you in layman's terms about the banking system and our legislators. They're not for us. They're against us. And who controls government? The banks do.
I got to laugh here for a second. You're talking about Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and the tornado coming through, and then the Wicked Witch of the West. And Jeff just sent me a picture. He got a hell of a storm coming his way, and he's in Kansas.
Now, fortunately, I have a brother that's closer to me in age than any of my other brothers. And he and I, we sit down, we have intelligent talks about this kind of stuff. And we both, I'm telling you, we both relish and cherish the fact that we're sovereigns. We're sovereign. There's not much that the man can do to us. And if they do, and I don't know if that has any bearing on how successful we are, but first I give the glory to God, because without God I couldn't do anything. So, but and the other fact that being sovereign has a lot to do with success in America. I'm telling you, it does. Dawn says Kansas is a great state to sleep through. Unless you get, I got to call my brother to see if the Bear House Steakhouse truck stop is still off of I-40 over between Dorrance and Russell. They used to have a real grizzly bear in a cage, and they called it the Bear House. It was a great place to go after a good night of drinking. But yeah, I kind of agree with Dawn. Yeah, it is a great, if you're driving cross country, it is a great state to sleep through. And as soon as you hit Colorado line, wake up.
Yeah, that western side of the state is just, whew.
Yep.
Unless you like looking at feedlots.
Yeah, I've seen tumbleweeds bump into tumbleweeds, and I've seen like almost a 2-story high bunch of tumbleweeds, and it was thousands of tumbleweeds just collected together because of how the wind just carries them, and they hit each other and they grow like a snowball rolling down a hill.
Yep. I love burning them things too.
Oh yeah.
They line up, go hot and fast.
Yep. So
you guys want to see something pretty, go to the Flint Hills of Kansas in the springtime where they burn everything, because everybody burns at the same time, and it's huge, and it travels southeast every year.
yeah.
It moves east and southeast every year, and it burns all the way down to the state line, and I tell you what, it is pretty.
Yeah, Melody, you've obviously been reading the book, and that's true. The Bible will guide us and prepare us for what we'll see. And I'm telling you, people, read this book. You don't have to speed read through it, but read it. And if you have to read paragraph over and over and over until it resonates in your mind, then, but read the book, because it's going to teach you. And read some scriptures before you read. Pray before you read. And on that note, folks, I'm going to bid y'all a good night. And we're going to do this like we did last time. We're going to close this in prayer. Heavenly Father, we just come before you, and we thank you for another day that you've given us. That this day was the day you gave us so we could learn, educate, and uplift other people. Father God, that we don't see political sides, we don't see religious sides, we just see other human beings that are deserving of what you have given us. And Father God, this knowledge that you're giving us through this book, we ask you, Father, that we safeguard it with our souls, our spirits, and our lives, and that we will exercise our God-given rights, and that is to liberty, pursuit of happiness, and justice for all. And in Jesus' precious name, keep everyone safe until the next morn. Everybody, good night. In Jesus' name, amen and amen.
Amen.
Everybody, we shall see you on Thursday. Same time, same channel. 7:30.
We'll see you guys then. Thanks for joining us.
So thank you, Chris, for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a blast.
Okay.
It was fun.
Good night, all.